Today I am making hot cross buns. A friend of mine asked me to make her some because she finds that the ones in the traditional grocery stores are more dense and dry, and then the other ones from the nice bakeries are really fancy and jazzed up. She wants hers to be more like the ones she grew up in, which means just raisins, no craisins, no apricots, no currants, and also no glaze on top. Most hot cross bun recipes will include a glaze, whether it's just sugar and water or like a jam, like apricot or marmalade with a little bit of water and then brushed on top when they're done. A lot of recipes have that as the way to finish them off, which works great if you're going to serve them right away. But if you are going to have these buns out and you're going to nibble on them for a couple of days, then having that sticky glaze on top isn't exactly the nicest situation. Instead, just put a nice jelly on it with some butter after you warm the bun up and eat it with that sweet texture that way. So because we're not doing the glaze, we are going to do an egg wash, and that will give the buns a nice brown and a nice shine as they bake. What else will be different with mine is the cross on top. Hot cross buns are a very Christian traditional bun that is often served with Good Friday, representing Jesus's death and resurrection. But I find that the cross on top of the buns just looks like two lines all the time. I want mine to look more like a cross. She is a Christian, the friend that I'm giving these to, so she is perfectly okay with it looking like a legitimate cross. So I guess know your audience, right? If they don't want it, the bun to signify Jesus, then maybe just make it look like it does in the grocery store. So here are the ingredients that you will need to make these buns. You can knead this recipe by hand, but it does take a lot longer and uses up your strength. If you do have a stand mixer, use it with the hook attachment and just have the steel bowl ready to go. What I like to do is just run it under some warm water before putting in the warmed milk so that it's not going in cold and just encourages the yeast to grow. So with the yeast, you need 2 1/4 teaspoons and 1 teaspoon of white sugar. We are going to warm up 3/4 a cup of, I use half and half, but if you have whole milk, great. I do not, so I like to use just my coffee creamer. We are going to warm it up till it's, I think 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I just go by the touch. When it feels warm, I take it off, and that seems to work for me. But 110 degrees Fahrenheit is what you're looking for if you're going to use a thermometer. Then we have here 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. I do keep a little bit on the side, just if I need to add a little bit to my dough if it's too sticky or to knead later. We are going to use 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. Then for the butter, it is 1/3 cup of softened butter. You are going to need, 3 eggs altogether, but separate. So 2 for the dough and the bun, and then 1 for the egg wash afterwards. For the raisins, I'm using 1 1/2 cups of raisins, and I'm just having them soak for a little while in warm water just to soften them up. For the cross on top, we will be using 1/2 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, and then 6 to 8 tablespoons of water. We will also be using a bag to pipe them on. Last but not least, a bowl for the dough to rise in. We're going to grease this up with a little bit of oil, and that will take care of the first rise. And in the second rise, we will be using a 9 by 13 pan. The first thing we are going to do is warm up our milk or our cream. Okay, so make sure you dry out the bowl after you warm it up. Dump your yeast and sugar in, and then your warmed milk. Gonna give it a little stir. And then we're going to leave it for about 5 minutes and let it froth up. If your milk was not the right temperature, you will know because it won't change much. But if it's the right temperature, it will froth up. So if it doesn't, it's okay. Just try again. That happens to me every once in a while. Don't, if it doesn't froth up, do not continue on because your buns will not work. It's better just to throw this out and do it all over again, okay? This is what it should look like if it's frothed up well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're gonna add in a bunch of our other ingredients. We're gonna add in our brown sugar, butter, and spices. Our 2 eggs, vanilla, and roughly 1 cup of the flour. We just don't want it all right away. We are going to mix it up with the hook and get the dough started. Once the incorporation has begun, we can drop in the rest of our flour. Now it's going to knead in the mixer for about 5 minutes. This dough is quite a sticky dough and you want it to remain soft, but if it is so sticky that by the end of like the 5 minutes that it won't even come off the bowl, then just add another tablespoon of flour, but you try to use as little flour as possible. I just stopped it halfway through the 5 minutes to clean the stickiness off the sides of the mixing bowl and the hook. Now I'm just gonna put it on for the remaining 5 minutes. Now it can be hard to know what is an acceptable level of sticky and what needs more flour. So one of the ways I kind of test it is if I can touch it and it doesn't come back up with my finger, then that's okay. Because you just really don't want to add too much flour because that will affect the density of these buns. So try to do that. And if it's coming out clean, then you are good. Next up are the raisins. Just drain the water out of the raisins and we're going to put them in and just mix them up a little bit. Then what I like to do is just put a little flour on the counter and manipulate the raisins more into the middle, because I find with the hook, it does like to just stick them to the outside. And so I just give it a little knead and a little push around to help the raisins incorporate a little bit more. And then we are going to put it into our greased bowl and set it up for its first rise. I'm going to cover it with saran wrap. Now you're going to put it wherever's warm in your kitchen, on the counter if it's warm, if it's a nice day. I like to put my oven on just for a couple minutes to warm up the oven, and then I place it, turn the oven off, and then I place it in to rise. Having the oven light on as well just warms up the oven a little bit too. Because sometimes if you're making these around Easter, there are periods of time where it's not warm in Easter yet in your kitchen. Okay, I just see I have a little hole in the saran wrap, so I'm going to use another piece. So we do not want that. We want it to fit nice and snug. All right, there it is. Now, this may take, depending on the warmth of the area you put it, may take an hour, it may take 2 hours. The goal is for it to double in size. So I would just set a timer for an hour, take a look at it, and if it doesn't look ready yet, just leave it alone for another hour. You guys, I do not know how this happened. I made a major mistake. While making dinner for my family, I went into the microwave and went to put something in it, and boom, the butter. Half the butter, actually probably more than half the butter that's supposed to be in my hot cross buns. I needed to use some from the fridge, so I just gave it a little nuke and totally forgot about it while I was prepping the rest of the ingredients. And I do not know how these are gonna turn out now. So please make sure to use 1/3 a cup of butter, unlike me. They may end up looking fine, like it's rising okay, but it may affect the taste for me. But don't let this happen to you so yours tastes delicious. I cannot believe I did this. I don't think I have ever made such a big mistake, and with something that I'm trying to give to another person. So I will definitely be trying one. Even if they look good, I'm going to try one, and I'll let you know how it tastes. Oh my goodness, can't believe it. It has been 2 hours and it has risen well, despite not having half the butter in it. Oh my goodness, still can't believe I did that. Okay, you're going to need your pan. It needs to be greased, 9 by 13. We are going to divide this dough up into 15 portions and roll them up and place them in the pan to rest and rise for another hour. Okay, I am so nervous now, but oh, it looks good. Okay, let's give it a little knead, and then I'm going to get a knife and we will divide it up. I don't really know what the best way to divide this up. Like how, I don't have a scale, so I can't just weigh the portion. So I'm just gonna cut in half and then cut the halves in halves and so on. As long as they're roughly the same size, it should be okay. Not necessarily the most technical and detailed baker, I guess. I have to say, they do smell really good. The spices, So how I roll mine into balls is I just get it into I knead it a little bit and then gather it on the bottom and give it a little twist. And then it's nice and smooth on the top. Now just put it in the pan. So here we go again. I'm gonna give it a little tiny mini knead. Get nice and smooth, pick it up, twist a little bit. You'll see it nice and smooth. That's good to go. That's how you do this. Do it with all the buns. This one has a ton of raisins. I'm gonna go and take one of these out and go put it on one of the first ones I put in there because it didn't have very many on the top. So we are just going to do this to all of them and then get them resting in the pan. 5 rows of 3. I love working with dough. Just such a fun process, from watching it, what it comes from in the beginning, into what it develops with time and process. So here they are. Just like you want to make sure that you leave a nice amount of space in between all of them. And I'm going to cover it back up with saran wrap and place it in the oven and let it rest again for 1 hour. The second rise is complete. They're doing great. Now the oven is just turned on and heating up to 350 degrees. While the oven is heating up, we are going to do our egg wash and our crosses onto the buns. For the egg wash, it's just 1 egg and a tiny bit of water. Just whisk it together with a fork until it's well combined, and then it's good to go. Take a brush and coat the tops of the buns. It doesn't need a lot of the wash. Just a little bit goes a long way. All right, they are washed. We're gonna put this aside and get onto our paste. So here we have our 1/2 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, and I'm going to get some water. I'm gonna start off with 6 tablespoons and take it from there. Okay, that is a 6. Gonna use a fork to whisk it all together because I just think it'll work better than a spoon. So we want the consistency of this paste to really be in between thick and runny. If it's too runny, it's not going to hold its shape. If it's too thick, it's going to pipe on thick and not be very pleasant to like the texture, and the taste won't be very pleasant. It'll be too much. So that's why I like to start off with 6, and sometimes I add a little bit more water. I've never had to use more flour, but there's always a first. You also want to make sure there's, you know, as few lumps as possible. You don't want a lump of dry flour to end up on one of your buns. I'm going to use it just as is. Right. Now I need to get it into my piping bag. If you do not have a piping bag, no worries, just use a Ziploc bag. You may probably want to use a cup still to hold the bag in place while you pour the mixture in. It just makes it a lot easier. Now we just have to cut off the tip a little bit and we can do our crosses. This is the part that makes me the most nervous. I really want it to look more like a cross. The crosses are looking good. Some of them are going upside down your direction and others are sideways, just depending on the raisins. But the paste is holding well, so that's a relief. Show you the buns. They turned out pretty well, and I'll just make sure when I package them for her that they're all facing the same direction. Okay, so once the oven is ready to go, we are gonna bake these for 20 to 25 minutes. Look what is freshly baked. They look great. They smell amazing. Now we're just gonna let these cool in the pan for about 5 minutes before we take them out and let them cool a bit before I package them up for my friend. Well, they look great. I am so pleased with how they turned out. You couldn't tell I didn't put in all the butter. So let's try them out. They look nice and fluffy. Like the texture looks good. The size is good. Look at that. My goodness. Tastes good. Wouldn't even know I didn't put all the butter in. Is that crazy? Well, lucky for me, I don't need to bake it twice for my friend, but I will put in the right amount of butter next time I make them. They turned out, they taste great, they look great, even with a mistake. And I think you're really going to like the texture of the cross when you add the icing sugar in, where if you just use plain flour, it's not very much of a flavor at all. It's just kind of like just a crunch. So it's not very nice. But when you add a little bit icing sugar, it kind of helps out with the fact that you don't have a glaze. But if you add some butter to these and put some apricot jelly on it, oh wow, that would be even better. But these taste really good on their own. And I think my friend's gonna be thrilled. So I'm gonna pack these up for her. I have a cute little box to put them in, and it's really good because she knows she's getting a dozen. This recipe makes 15. Woo! Because how else would well, she's my friend, I'd tell her. If this only made 12 and only 11 showed up, I'd be like, look, I just had to taste it to make sure it still was adequate to give away. Well, everyone, I hope you will give this recipe a try this Easter season or in the future. They are delicious any time of year. If you do like this recipe, give this video a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And please come back again soon to see what I'm baking up next. Bye, everyone.